School Committee meeting of Wednesday, April 8, 2026 is now called to order at 7 p.m. Dr. McGee, roll call, please.
Chairman Bourget.
Here.
Vice Chair Burke.
Here.
Mrs. Kapiskas. Mr. Leclerc.
Here.
Mrs. Costa is absent.
Will you please stand with me for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What's that?
Well,
Second? What?
that's too early?
Wow. I want Amy back. At this time, I'll introduce our principal from Portia Citizens, and please, we welcome you here, and please, let's hear your program. What is that noise?
If you want to step forward, I have a presentation.
Oh, sure.
This was it.
Go slowly. I'm waiting for my student to arrive.
Drop the screen. Linda. The sound system. I can't get my phone to record.
How do I get it to present? This is good. My student's still not here, so okay. I'm hoping we have a student coming to speak. I'm not sure where she is, but we'll fit her in when she gets here. So good evening, and thanks for allowing us to showcase some of the good things we're doing at Portia Citizens this year. One of the things we decided this year is we were going to be very intentional on being positive and creating a great culture in the building. And attendance, as is in every building, a struggle every day. So we have been putting a lot more thought into how we can get our kids to want to come to school every day and be engaged. We have used data every week to drive the way we're dealing with the attendance in our building. Last year, at the end of the school year, our chronic absenteeism was 45%. This year, our goal is 40, and we currently, right now, are at 39, which is something to be proud of. And we have, every day we talk to the kids about the percentages, and we've had contests, and we've done something different this year where we're doing school-wide instructional shifts and attendance ways to get the kids here consistently every month. We used to just award students that had awesome attendance. We don't do perfect attendance for many reasons. And now this year we're doing school-wide incentives for students with awesome attendance. Both of them have changed the culture, and we have worked hard to target those students and families that needed more support to get their child to school every day. Like I said, this year we decided we would do monthly initiatives across the whole school. The kids are excited every month to find out what the new thing is going to be for the month. And it's created a great atmosphere and students talking up each other and their classrooms. Please come to school. Kids are getting upset when their parents are coming to pick them up early. So it's really changed the culture. This is a breakdown on some of the things we've done so far. We did a drawing contest at the beginning. We had a spirit week. We had a thankful Your Hair raffle, 12 days of attendance. We had mystery envelopes, which was something new this year. The kids loved. They would, if they made their attendance goal, they got an envelope and inside maybe free another PE class or recess or a pizza party, whatever they wanted, a movie. This year we did March Madness. Just like with the sports, we did it classroom against classroom, which has been so much fun this year. And the kids really, and I'm sad that my student's not here because she was part of the excitement and the winning classroom. So from this, we found one teacher in the citizen school who has consistently had good attendance, made it to the finals in the March Madness, but she also does the MOI teaming structures every day, all year. She's here? Oh, good. Oh, that's okay. Thank you. So we dug a little more into this teacher, and we found that last year her scores went up significantly more than the other third grade teachers and teachers that weren't the chosen classrooms that were doing MOI last year. This year she started from day one, and the teaming and collaboration she's built in her classroom, students were showing up because they were having fun, they were engaged, they were making a community where they were connected to each other and learning all at the same time. So this is a video of this class.
I'm very excited to know if we have made it to the final two for the March Madness attendance competition. So the results are in. And
how does MOI support your learning?
It supports my learning. It pumps my brain with learning and makes me a critical thinker.
How does MOI support your learning?
I just love how you can build up in your team and you could explain why you think this or why you build up in your team and how you grow your brain and how your team grows your brain by explaining each other's thinking.
Why do you like having MOI in your class?
Because it teaches me things and my group teaches me things. And I like to communicate.
Okay.
Yes. And it helps my brain. It helps me get more smart because they communicate and they put ideas in my brain, and sometimes when I'm thinking the wrong answer, they help me and they make me change my idea, and that's why I like MOI.
Can you tell me why you like having MOI in your class?
Yeah, because it helps people learn from other students to know like what to do, and it helps you learn from other students.
Can you tell me why you like teaming?
I like teaming because it actually helps you listen, and you could like be a critical thinker, and you could like help your teammates and stuff. I think no, it's not a coincidence because our class just likes to go to school, and I think because it gives more knowledge, that's why they like to go to school. And to learn.
do you know what you want to say? What you want to say?
I call on that. So I agree, because I also think it's not a coincidence, because if you feel supported, they were more likely to come to school more often. No.
So I agree is because when connected your guys' answers, and I started to change my opinion.
I agree with Edwin because I wrote the same thing and I was thinking the same.
Thank you all for listening and looking at the person that was talking and being supportive team members of what people were saying.
So listening to these students, and they had a question that they teamed out on teaming and attendance and why they like it and why they wanted to come to school, we realized that there is a strong connection between attendance and engaging teaching where the students feel like they have some ownership in the class, and that's what this class demonstrates. So we're going to continue. We'll work hard next year to continue the progress we've made and come up with some more great ideas to get them motivated every day. And this was our March Madness. And after they knew that they were in second place on Sunday, we did the finals, and their classroom actually won. Huh, Lorelei? Come on up. Do you want to stand here or do you want to stand here? Do you want to hold it? Can you come in close enough? I don't know. Let's see. Okay, talk nice and loud and proud.
My name is Lorelai, and I'm in the third grade class on the video. Our class won the attendance March Madness contest because we come to school every day. I like to come to school to see my friends, and I like to learn math, science, and I like to read. In my class, we work in teams, and I am a good team member. This is a different way to learn, and I love it. I get to express myself and the things I learn when I have and the things I think. And when I have a problem, I know how to solve it because of teaming. School is a good place because I get to work with my friends and I learn better now. That is why teaming helps me be a better learner and I want to come to school each day. I hope in the future I get to have good teachers and a principal. Thank you.
She's going to take my job one of these days. And I'm just going to ask, Karen Naman is our innovation specialist. She's been helping this classroom with the teaming. And one of the things we did was give the students a survey. And we have packets for the committee up on the stage. And she can just say a word about what those packets contained.
Hi, I'm Karen Neerman. Thanks for having me. It's been one of my greatest pleasures working in Room 20. We have come a long way in developing these learners. And what you saw on the screen was sincerely authentic. In a weird way, watching it, I was like, it looked like it was scripted, but that is how those kids actually speak to one another now because they have worked so hard in practicing it. And the packets reveal the students, they were asked questions about the impact of teaming on their learning. And they were very, very, again, those answers were very organic. At the end of the packet, on the very back, when those kids were having that conversation, they had done thinking before. And they answered those questions that are at the end of the packet about, was it a coincidence that you won and you like to team? And they were like, yes, but they really meant No. Like the whole concept of coincidence, like they were struggling to understand it. But on the other hand, they recognize the fact that because they enjoy working in their teams, they do like coming to school. So there are a lot of actually graphs on that, because Google Forms does a great job of like disaggregating the data. And the data showed that pretty much 85% of the kids found that they became better communicators, better listeners, more critical thinkers, and 90% of them also felt like they were in a very supportive learning community. So it's all like 17 and like the 3 who didn't, you have to have that in there. And it also made us give consideration to why those students weren't feeling supported. And this group, this class is very reflective. Every time if something goes awry or isn't successful, those kids own it. They think about how to do better and they sincerely try. So, it will be interesting for you to read sort of how AI generated the summaries of what their answers legitimately were in those forms, because they always were given, do you agree or disagree and why? And those why answers were their words. So when it gets summarized, you'll see the kids do really feel like they learn better this way. And I'm super proud of them because they've come a long way. And they've I think they recognize they've learned a lot. So thank you.
Both those words.
Get the short chair. Yeah, I always do.
I want to thank Portier Citizens Campus folks for a really great presentation, especially to our student. Let's give them a hand.
Hey, good job.
Well done. Next, we'll go into good and welfare. For anyone addressing the school committee this evening, please begin with your name and address. Your comments shall be no more than 5 minutes of speaking time and should be in good decorum. Please be aware that the committee cannot respond to you during good and welfare, but may direct you to an appropriate member of the administration team or may meet with you directly after the meeting for further discussion. Is there anyone who wants to address the school committee this evening? Please come to the podium.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annie Sepulveda.
Excuse me, we didn't hear what you said. Would you?
I'm sorry. Now?
A little better, sure.
Okay. Hi, my name is Annie Sepulveda, and I'm here with my sister. She's a little bit nervous. I'm gonna speak for her. She has this. She's trying to work a problem with her daughter to get a bus. She's autistic and she has anxiety, and it has been a month. We can't have no appointments with the principal, or we're trying to, but there's always an excuse. So she's here to know what else could she do. And she have a letter, if you allow me to read it. It's only gonna take me a minute. Okay. Because I am writing to urgently request school bus transportation for my daughter. My daughter has been diagnosed with autism and anxiety, and her safety is a major concern. Recently, there has been 2 very serious incidents. She has walked to the high school and a car with a man telling her to get in the car. She's autistic. She didn't know what to do. She just started running back home That was the first incident. The second incident happened a month ago. A guy in a bike followed her into my yard. We have cameras in my house. And what saved her, it was like the back door was still open. And she went inside. Um, and due to her disability of her being autistic and anxiety, I have a concern of safety. I don't feel it is safe for her to walk to school since we live in 323 Carrington Avenue. It's a long walk for her. She needs to be crossing streets, and in the light, a Dunkin' Donut is hard for her to cross. It takes her like 10 or 15 minutes for her to cross. And expressing this is serious because I don't want my daughter to be one more on the list of the missing persons in Woonsocket or Rhode Island. Because of this issue, I just need the bus for her in the mornings because I work. I go to work at 5:30 in the morning and she's downstairs with my sister, with any Sepulveda, that is me. She comes down to my house and I take care of her until she goes back to walking to school. I come out at 1:45. I could pick her up. I'm just asking the school to just pick her up at 7 when she, only the mornings, that's it. In the evening, I could pick her up myself. Please let me know if you need any documents in whatever is needed to show you that my daughter has special needs. Because of her anxiety, 2 years she wasn't out without the medication. Now I need to give it back to her because she doesn't want to go walking to school because of those two issues. And this is a my concern because now I'm the one struggling, seeing my daughter cry every night when it comes in the morning for me to wake her up so she could be ready to start going back to school. If you have any questions, I'm here, or I could wait until this meeting is over and I could show you all the papers that I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was a little bit nervous.
It's all right. Doing a good job.
Is there anyone else?
My name is Melissa Bubble. I live here in Woonsocket on 3rd Avenue. I'm here to speak about an ongoing issue involving my son's school bus and what I believe is a lack of communication and accountability sometimes that is affecting not only my child, but other families as well. For some time now, my son has been dealing with a difficult situation involving another child on the bus. This has been a continuous issue that has caused him stress and discomfort. Despite multiple attempts to resolve this, the situation remains unchanged. I, including the principal, have requested the bus driver simply move my son's seat to help separate him from the issue. This is a responsible and straightforward solution, so I thought. However, despite these requests being made directly to the bus driver and even to her supervisor or her boss, no action has been taken. The request has been ignored. As a parent, it is incredibly frustrating to see a simple solution go unaddressed, especially when it directly impacts my child's well-being. More importantly, it sends a message to my son that when he speaks up about a problem, nothing is going to be done. That is not a lesson I want to teach my child. In addition to this issue, I want to address communication. I understand that all of you are busy, and I truly respect the work that you do. However, many parents, including myself, are struggling to get responses sometimes. Emails have gone unanswered for months, or if at all. Phone calls are rarely returned. I personally have been waiting since December for a response regarding this very issue. In that same email, I also shared helpful resources for families to support them during struggling families and children facing behavioral challenges. It appears that that email may have been overlooked entirely. As a working parent, I cannot always attend these meetings in person anymore. Emails and phone calls, communication are crucial for families like mine. When these channels fail, it leaves us feeling unheard and unsupported. And I want to be clear, this is not just my experience. When I speak to other parents and encourage them to be here or to come out and reach out or come forward, I often hear the same response from all of them. It's useless, they don't respond, and they do what they want, and they ignore us. I don't want to believe that at all. I want to be able to tell other parents and encourage them that their voices do matter, that you do listen. But it becomes very difficult to stand behind that even when basic communications is not happening. I'm asking for two things. First, that immediate action be taken to resolve my son's bus situation. A seat change is a simple step that can make a meaningful difference. Second, that there be a stronger commitment to communication with families like mine. Even a brief acknowledgement of an email or a returned phone call goes a long way when building trust. Our children deserve to feel safe and supported, and parents deserve to feel heard. I do have to leave after this comment to make sure that my children are rested for the RICAS testing tomorrow. I will resend my original email from December again tonight, and I sincerely look forward to finally receiving a response. And I thank you for your time and listening. Good night.
Thank you.
Alana Gordon, Wood Ave, Woonsocket. Over the past several weeks, I've made a point to sit down with parents and teachers to listen, not to assume. And across these conversations, one message has come through clearly and consistently. Communication isn't working the way it needs to. This isn't about a missed email here or there. It's about a pattern where information isn't clear, follow-through is inconsistent, and people are left unsure of what's happening or who is responsible. And I want to be candid. I've experienced this myself. Since January, I've been trying to get an initiative off the ground, and something as simple as scheduling meetings, getting responses, and moving conversations forward has been extremely challenging. At a certain point, you do start to wonder if it's worth continuing. You start to feel like you're not getting anywhere. So when I hear concerns about a lack of parent involvement, when I hear that parents aren't showing up or participating, I think we need to pause and ask a harder question. Why? Is it possible that some of that disengagement isn't apathy, but frustration? Is it possible that people have tried and after repeated delays, lack of follow-up, or feeling like their concerns aren't being heard, they've simply stopped trying? Because that's what it can start to feel like. And if that's happening, then this isn't just a communication issue, it's a trust issue. After attending both school committee meetings and city council meetings, I've noticed another pattern that I believe is contributing to this. When problems arise, accountability tends to move. It shifts from one place to another, from one level to another, and from one group to another. And when accountability moves, progress stalls. Because if everyone is responsible, then no one is responsible. I want to be very clear. I'm not here to assign blame. Blame is easy and it doesn't fix anything. I'm here because I care about outcomes for students, for teachers, and for families who are trying to engage in good faith. Leadership sets the tone. When communication at the top is clear, consistent, and followed through on, that standard carries throughout the system. But when it isn't, the impact is real and it shows up in disengagement, frustration, and a growing sense that participation doesn't lead to results. So instead of focusing on who is at fault, I'm asking us to focus on what needs to change, because something does need to change. We need clearer, more timely communication, we need consistent follow-through, and we need defined ownership so that when something is said, it actually happens. Not occasionally, not eventually, but reliably. Because if we want more involvement, we have to make participation feel meaningful. We have to show people that when they speak, they are heard and that something comes from it. This is all fixable. And that is the most important part. We don't need perfection. We need consistency. We need responsiveness. And we need a culture where accountability isn't something that gets passed around, but something that is carried through. Our students, our teachers, and our families deserve a system that works not just in theory, but in practice. I believe we can get there, but it starts with how we communicate and whether we follow through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dennis Kodal from Fifth Avenue, Woonsocket. I'm here because there was a consistent concern, and the three main points that are always brought up when there is concerns about the performance of the school are either parent involvement, funding for the school, or that Woonsocket is statistically economically disadvantaged. So I wanted to make sure that I actually did my research and gathered data. All of this data comes directly from the Rhode Island Department of Education. Right now, Woonsocket has, on average, a proficiency level at their grade level of 12% of students for English, 9%, 9.7 for math, and 13.4 for science. This compares to some of our closest relatives of Cumberland of 55, 54, and 48 respectively, Pawtucket 18, 15, and 13 respectively, and Rise Prep 37, 35, and 34 respectively. The overalls for Rhode Island are 35, 28, and 30 respectively. I want to look at each of the statistics and each of the things that we try to assign blame to. First, funding. Woonsocket spends on average $20,457 per student per year. Cumberland spends $16,649 per year. Pawtucket $19,171 per year, and Rise Prep $13,537 per student per year. These are all coming from the Department of Education. So obviously, not having enough funding is not necessarily to blame. I want to look at parental involvement. Statistically, on average, across all metrics in the United States, Asian American students outperform their peers in every metric. Most studies have shown this is because of parental involvement in their studies. So I wanted to look at the metrics across Asian American students. In Woonsocket, they performed 23 in math, 23 in English, and 19 in science. Comparatively to Cumberland, 69, 81, 72, Pawtucket 31, 48, and 24, and in Rise Prep 40, 58, and there was no data available for science. So although there have been improvements with the demographics that have the most parental involvement, almost double that of the average, it has not even been to the average level of our peer schools. Now I wanted to look at economic disadvantagement. Economically disadvantaged students perform at 10, 8, and 11 respectively in Woonsocket. In Cumberland, they perform at 30, 27, and 27. In Pawtucket, 14, 12, and 10, and at Rise Prep, 27, 26, and 26. So across all schools, they do perform slightly worse. However, what is very concerning is that the most disadvantaged that are closest to peer schools of Cumberland and Pawtucket are still performing at a higher rate than our most advantaged in the Asian community, where they have the most parental involvement. I am not here to assign blame. I am not here to say this is anyone else's fault. I'm here merely to remove the blame game. The data does not support the blame game. So instead of the blame game of saying, well, it's just we're economically disadvantaged. It's just we don't have parental involvement. It's just we don't have the funding. Instead, there has to be some other issues that we can solve. I've seen other teachers here and other administrators here tackling other issues, such as attendance issues, using data-driven solutions. The data backs that up. They're doing things that the data is supporting to improve our school. But using these tactics of just blaming parents, blaming the funding, or blaming economic disadvantage of the system in the area is not working, and it's just separating parents from administrators and separating parents from wanting to participate. Again, Not here to blame. I don't think any of you are just sleeping on the job or anything to that aspect. I just want to remove blame so that together as a team, as parents, as administrators, as teachers, we can forget about who's at fault and take responsibility. Because even if it's no one's fault, it's all of our responsibility to make a change. We have to get the mission done, and the maximum effective arrangement excuse is 0 meters. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing and hearing no one else, we'll go into recognitions and announcements. Dr. McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to recognize Pothier citizens. I want to recognize our wonderful student who very eloquently spoke this evening. I also want to recognize Mrs. Carvalho and her staff for the amazing job that they do with their amazing students. We saw a great example, and we heard a great example of some of the terrific learning that, in fact, is going on in the Woonsocket Education Department. So I'm very proud of them. And I'd like to give them all a round of applause again. There are a lot of really good things happening here in the Woonsocket Education Department. Speaking of really good things that are happening in the Woonsocket Education Department, I recently received an email from Mrs. Partridge, Vicenta Partridge, who is a math teacher at Woonsocket High School. And she emailed me and said that she wanted to share with me, and I'd actually seen it. There was an article in, I believe it was The Breeze this year, that put the spotlight on some amazing Woonsocket High School students. We have for those of you who are not aware, we have a knitting club at Woonsocket High School, which is sponsored through Connecting for Children and Families. And I said to Mrs. Partridge, I said, I would love to have the students from that knitting club come to a school committee meeting so that we can publicly recognize them for their support for the number one, their support for this community, and their ability to be selfless and to reach out to those in our community who are less fortunate. So I'm going to recognize each student. If you would please, if they're not all here this evening, but many of them are, when I announce your name, if you could just please stand so the committee could recognize you, that would be wonderful. So we're going to start. I'm going to start with Mrs. Partridge, who is here. Mrs. Partridge.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So we have Lydia Fowler. Not sure if Lydia is here this evening. She's part of the knitting club, however. And let me just read a little bit of what they did, because they didn't just knit and for themselves, right? They created hand knit and machine knit winter hats, which they proudly donated to the city's homeless shelter this year. So wonderful, amazing, selfless young ladies. So we start with Lydia Victoria Partridge. Tessa Crossley, Chrisnady Reyes Munoz, Lila Duong, Sophie Plant. Is Wisdom here? No, Wisdom's not here. And Stephanie Juarez, who's also a member. Okay, well, again, congratulations. Thank you so much for making us proud and making this community proud.
Thank you.
I think she wanted to say
You may want to say something.
Do you want to?
You want to come to the mic, please?
Absolutely.
You skated. It's not on.
Still willing to, if there are students willing, because this is about them.
That's cool.
That, Mr. Chairman, concludes my recognitions and announcements.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the recognitions and announcements. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, let's go into the approval of minutes. The closed session minutes of March 11, 2026, as you might recall, were tabled at the previous meeting. So I move to remove the closed session minutes of March 11, 2026 from the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. Dr. McGee, roll call.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve the March 11, 2026 closed session minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. Any changes to those minutes? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Similarly, the open session minutes of March 11, 2026 were tabled at the last meeting. And so I move to open, to remove the open session minutes from the table for March 11, 2026. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve the March 11, 2026 open meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. Any changes to those minutes? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve the March 25th, 2026 closed session meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. Any corrections to those minutes? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve the March 25th, 2026 open meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. Any changes to those minutes? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc and Vice Chair Burke.
Sorry.
Does anybody want to examine and discuss any of those items? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
We'll go into communications. There's no student representative report this evening. So the second is we have the exit and climate employee survey reports. I'll turn that over to you, Dr. McGee.
I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kitchen.
Well done.
So about a year ago, you was requested that we look at our exit survey results and do an analysis and get an idea why people are leaving Woonsocket. I provided the reports, so 2 years were in one report because that's how it was set up, and then now we're separating that. And then the second year, the last year was 24-25. Overall, just to give you an idea, the 24-25 survey results, we had 30 responses, which was only about 4% based on in people who left. Unfortunately, we can't force them to complete the exit survey. And between 22 and 24, we had 101 responses, which is about 40%. But again, it's a bigger number. We are looking at future year exit surveys to make them not as complex and hoping that we get more answers and try to just zone in on certain things. I do want to share that they are able to choose more than one reason why they're leaving. So they may be leaving for compensation, relocation, and career opportunity. So they are able to choose more than one. So not all the numbers come up to 100%. Do you have any questions based on the report? As you can see, the primary reason that people do leave is compensation. That compensation encompasses a lot of different things. It's pay, it's the commute costs, career advancement. So there were a lot of when they say compensation, there were a lot of things connected to it, not just the compensation. Some people just say it was the compensation. But I think some of the career opportunity that you see there as a reason is tied to compensation. So we're going to change that because career advancement, career opportunity, it's not very clear when people answer that. So we're going to be a little more clear on that. When I think of career advancement is that they're leaving here to go to a position that they're being promoted. So we're going to try to define that. The positive is that on both surveys, anyone who, when they leave here, when they work here, their pride is in working with our students and supporting our students. So they may leave, but they still enjoy their job here supporting students and working with their colleagues. So we do have a strong teaching staff that want to be here to support our kids. And what I'll be doing forward is every September, I'll present a report of the previous year exit survey, as well as a new hire survey. January, February timeframe, I send an email between me and Angie. We send out a survey to our new hires to make sure that they're getting what they need their first year. So I think that's important to share as well.
Ms. Kitchen, did you say how many of these of people that leave, how many of them take the surveys at 100%?
No. So for example, 24, 25, we had 129 exits and only 30 responses. And from between 22 to 24, we had 101 responses, and that was out of 257 exits.
So that's all the stats we have. You know, it gives us at least a taste, I would say, for why they're leaving, but we don't have the whole picture, obviously.
So that's why I'm working with my staff to really look at this exit survey itself to see if we can kind of bring it down a little bit so it's not so many questions, so they will take time to fill it out. I do want to do a shout out to my secretary, Mariah, who took all this data and brought it together so that I could present it to you tonight.
I like the presentation of the graphs and what you presented. Next time, maybe you just want to indicate how many people left and how many took it to get a sense of the percentages. That's all.
Okay.
But well done.
I can add that.
Any comment, Ms. Kapiskas?
I just have one question. Is the survey done blind? So that people don't have to, they submit anonymously?
No, they do. They do not submit anonymously, but they have a choice. They don't have to put their names, but it does collect their email addresses.
I think you might get more response if you make that an anonymous response. And I think you might get more honest responses if it's an anonymous response. I don't know if there's a way to do that. But I would think that would increase your participation rate, and quite frankly, increased participation rate is going to get us a more accurate picture of what the issue is.
I can tell you that some people were extremely honest, even though they were leaving.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the exit and climate employee survey reports. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Dr. McGee, would you give us your report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to begin with personnel matters update.
Yes.
Since the last school committee meeting, we filled the following vacancies: 1 full-time MLL kindergarten teacher at Globe Park Elementary, 3 paraprofessionals across the district, 2 custodians, as well as several hourly stipend and extracurricular positions. We currently have 15 paraprofessional vacancies and 3 teaching vacancies across the district. Transpar meeting. Last school committee meeting, I updated the school committee about the work that we're doing with Transpar, which is an organization that provides support and recommendations to districts when districts are endeavoring to change transportation, potentially change bus routes, to also look at start and end times, as well as redistricting. So we had a meeting with, well, actually not with Transpar, we had homework from our last Transpar meeting with our advisory group, which met this week. And our goal was for this meeting was to establish 3 to 5 goals moving forward that we were going to share, that we will share with Transpar when we meet with them next. So when I say goals, it's outcomes that we're hoping to achieve with the work that they're going to be doing with us. And these goals, while I have them numbered, 1 through 4, they're not necessarily in priority order. But one goal is to increase ridership across the district. That's a hope that we have when they look at everything and they provide the recommendations and we look at all of the different aspects. We're hoping to increase ridership for as many students as we possibly can. Arrival and dismissal times. This sounds like a no-brainer, but we struggle with bus arrival and bus pickup at certain schools because of a variety of transportation issues. So that is certainly a goal moving forward. As the committee knows and the community knows, we're going to be creating a 5-6 upper elementary and a 7-8 middle school, and we're looking at those 2 buildings, as those buildings will be on the same campus. One will be here, one will be next door. We're looking at them having different arrival and dismissal times, which will create a little less of a logjam here on the campus when both schools potentially would be dismissed at the same time. And the 4th goal is to look at potentially our high school start time each day and see if there's a possibility of pushing that a little bit later. There are a lot of different components that play into that, one being athletics, right? You can't potentially push a high school start time too late because the Interscholastic League has, set their established schedules for games for our student athletes. And just because these are all goals doesn't mean, like, for example, this number 4 doesn't mean it's going to happen. So I want to make sure that people don't, misunderstand me saying that we're going to push the start time of the high school later. That's something that I think we would like to explore as we put these plans together for over the next year or so. So we have not established a date for our next meeting with Transpar. We're going to reach out to them this week, and we will establish that date with them. So that's just a follow-up update from the last meeting that we had. And finally, climate and security. I think I might have mentioned this at the last meeting, that we have the people from Yonder coming out on the 14th and the 15th. They will be they'll be at both middle schools and the high school during the morning arrival of students, just to give us feedback on what they see in terms of the procedures that we've established, and also at dismissal time, they're going to be providing us with feedback. That's part of the partnership that we have with them. Is they initially meet with us, and then they meet with us a month or so after we've implemented the pouches. I'd also like to add to my climate and security in terms of meeting, and not to respond directly, because I know that isn't something that we normally do here, to good and welfare. But I would like to say in terms of scheduling meetings and reaching out to me, there has been some communication between myself, Mr. Ernest, and the high school to schedule a meeting. I know that a meeting was scheduled with the principal and some teachers who we wanted to have present at that, which we had talked about a while ago. Those teachers could not make it. So the last I understand from that is that was going to be rescheduled. So I don't want the community to think that I'm not responding to direct communication, because I am. And I know that meeting was scheduled, but it has to be rescheduled. So, and I'll certainly meet, after we finish, to make sure that meeting has been rescheduled. I wasn't rescheduling it, the high school was, because that was involving the high school principal and 2 teachers that we spoke about, who I think would like to be a part of the opportunity that you're talking about. So I just wanted to make that known. And that, Mr. Chairman, concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. Anyone?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chair Beck?
Dr. McGee, we are almost 2 months now into the Yoda pouches. The first couple of weeks, there was some great feedback on that.
Yep.
Has that continued?
Yeah,
You'll get that?
I speak to the principals of the middle schools and the high school, and it's going very well. I have not received any negative feedback from parents. I've spoken to a handful of parents over the last few weeks, and the parents that I've spoken to have said that they are pleased with this, and that and I've spoken to students as well, and I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. It's going very well. It's not perfect, and that was never the intent, but we know that there are going to be phones that are snuck in. But again, what I can tell you is what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, and it's gone much smoother than I thought it was going to go.
Very good. Thank you. Good.
Anyone else?
Just one other thing that I wanted to add with regard to the transpar, because parents might be questioning why separate start and finish times for the 5, 6, and the 7, 8. And part of that is dictated by state law. State law requires that buses transporting students of grade 5 are required to have monitors. Once they reach grade 6, that's no longer required. So the buses coming to the 5, 6 academy will need monitors. The buses going to the 7, 8 will not. And that's part of the reason for keeping the start and start times separate. And I think that parents are probably going to have some questions more particularly about that, because if they have kids that are in the 5th grade and in the 8th grade, they're going to say, why does one child get on the bus at one time and the other one gets on the bus at a different time when both buses are going to the same place? And I just want people to understand that's not something that we just decided to do. It's kind of dictated by state law.
Good.
And I imagine that is also part of just the whole traffic pattern issues that we're going to be facing district-wide once they redistrict. Dr. McGee, do you have a sense as to when Transpar will complete the work? I know we're still in the planning phase because you're setting up goals, but is there a target date for the project to be done?
Well, there isn't a target date for them to provide us the feedback,
right?
But with the conversations we've had with them, is that we are their work will be completed at some point in the fall, so that we can then provide that information to parents in the community, so that they're prepared, for these changes that will happen. But they haven't given us a specific date where it'll be completed.
Thank you.
So it's a process. We're in the beginning of the process. We're going to provide them with all the information they need. They've already started really some of this in terms of communicating with our current bus vendor. So they've started it, and it's going to continue, through the summer, and it's going to continue into the fall.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, just quickly, that 4th goal you mentioned about start times for high school, there's been many, as you know, there's been many studies that talk about the positive effect that has. And many schools have gone to that. The question that I wonder how they got around the problem with some of the athletic schedules, because that only would affect the fall when it's dark out for the outside sports. But if we have lights like we do, it could be a way to get around that. But that is always brought up about the start time. But they say, teenagers sleeping late is a good thing. So
I've heard that as well. And Nancy Giordano, our athletic director, is on this committee. And, in terms of the athletic piece. And she had indicated that if we potentially, hypothetically, look to move it not drastically ahead, it potentially could work in terms of the interscholastic league and sports. But again, those are things that we need to. I'd like to see if they're across the state here, what high schools, if any, start later than we do, because we currently start at 8 o'clock. That's when first period begins. Students begin entering the building at 7:45. So I'd be curious if there are any districts that start beyond after 8 o'clock. I know that we've heard of quite a few that start before 8 o'clock,
Right.
which is really sort of counterintuitive to your argument.
Yes, because some of these sports, even though they're in the spring, the Scholastic League has got the games are all set by schedule. So if you're the away team, I'm going to your school. That can be a problem,
Yeah.
especially if your start times are different.
Yeah.
And when you come to our school, depends. So that's part of the ironing out process that has to happen.
Yeah, if it's consistent, then it
Then
would work
it's
better,
easier.
yeah.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms.
There's
Capizzi.
also one other consideration, and you wouldn't think it would have to be, but it does. We have a lot of high school students that are responsible for younger siblings.
Yep.
And that's part of the motivation as to why we moved the start time back, ahead, so that they're coming in later than earlier, rather than earlier, because that way it prevents 5 and 6-year-olds from have to walk to school from walking to school alone. They can have an older sib with them if the older sib starts later, because we were experiencing tremendous tardies at the high school related to that issue. But when we did an informal discussion of it at our meeting, we were among the latest locally to start.
Right.
But I think that I understand the sports concern. That wasn't a concern for me, but I understand the sports concern.
Didn't the band have times too? I mean,
We practiced at night. The
Oh.
band practiced at night and weekends.
okay.
And all summer long. But essentially, I think we have to give consideration to that as well, because it can be a safety issue.
It's going to be interesting when we redistrict with all the schools looking at starting times and the family, how it's going to impact the families, the coaches, and everything else.
We also have a good number of students who work
Yeah.
right after school. So there are a lot of variables that we have to take into consideration, when we look at that. That's why I want to make sure that everybody knows that, this isn't something that we're looking to definitely do. We're just looking to explore, what it could look like.
Sure.
You should.
Anything else?
That is all for me.
I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the superintendent's report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have no school subcommittee reports this evening. I'll ask Mr. Notoriani to give us the facilities technology update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this evening, first item is school safety. We continue to meet every other week with the SROs and Detective Sergeant Kamer. We're in the process of scheduling a meeting with Colonel Oates and Deputy Chief Remick to discuss our needs regarding police details for the remainder of the school year. Communications platform, just a brief update. The high school and career tech center, the clocks, internal phones, intercom, and bells are now all working. Hamlet, the clocks and the internal phones are working. The intercom and bells will be brought online sometime late in the spring. Same for Villanova. Harris, the clocks are in progress. The phones are in progress. Bells and intercom probably over the summer. Savoy, Pothier, Savoy, the clocks are installed. Phones are waiting to be programmed. Intercom and bells in the summer. Pothier, the clocks are installed. Phones are waiting to be programmed. The intercom was installed because that was a concern outlined by the Teachers Guild when they appeared last spring, and the bells will be set up in the summer if they elect to use them. Citizens, the clocks were installed. Phones are waiting to be programmed. The intercom and bells will also be done over the summer. Security camera review. All the cameras licensed have arrived in central receiving. We'll proceed with the installation based on the following schedule. The high school campus has everything working. We had a couple that were out and we've replaced them. It's my understanding as of today, there were no malfunctioning cameras at that campus. Hamlet Middle School, we're looking to replace them towards the end of April through till June. Same for Villanova. We're looking to do the installation for Savoy. I think there's 6 to 12 cameras slated to go there from May. And Pothier, there are 3 cameras that hopefully will get up sometime in May. The remaining buildings here in the district will not be receiving cameras. We'll be using the old analog system as those buildings will be slated to close in the near future. And it's worth noting that it's the technology and the facilities department doing this installation. So when I say they're doing it later on, That's because we're doing it in-house. We're not paying a contractor to do it, since we didn't have the money to do a professional install. Technology update. As of today, there are 90 work orders in the system, 75 related to technology infrastructure, 15 related to data systems and state reporting. The technology staff are actively supporting RICAS, PSATs, and SATs. Those assessments are either just occurred or were during makeups or they're ongoing right now. It's worth noting during the high school PSAT, SAT administration, the technology staff, and I'm thanking them, Jeff Barrow and Tom Wakely, Linda Tracy, and Lisa Blaze, because well, the morning of the PSATs or the SATs, we received a frantic phone call and they needed 60 additional loaner Chromebooks brought to the main office because there was an undercount as to how many were needed and they didn't have enough loaners. So they are looking into that issue to determine what occurred there. But I want to thank the tech staff because they got 60 Chromebooks together in about 15 minutes and got them up there. And if they didn't, I think we probably would have a disaster in terms of state assessments. So their team is looking into that to figure out what they can do to avoid that in the future. In addition to that, the technology department staff have had to configure 2 additional loaner Chromebook cots for the use at Villanova Middle School to ensure that RICAS administration is successful due to the lack of access to technology devices because there's an ongoing issue with student damage and the accountability process at that building. So again, a thank you to the tech staff that they were able to get 60 Chromebooks available so that all the students can test over there. Data and state reporting, Power School conversion update. We are slightly behind schedule due to a need to clean up the existing student staff data and our present SIS Skyward. So thank you for renewing it for another year. We're hedging our bets because we intended on going to Power School for July 1st. We've sent out several emails to building principals and secretaries to make the necessary corrections. I want to note that some of the corrections are errors that have been rolling forward year after year in terms of certain contact data in the system. That being said, while it's not necessarily the responsibility of the secretary in terms of the error, meaning they didn't cause the error that's in there, it is worth noting that they've been given the list and it's the expectation of the district that those corrections are done and done correctly and in a timely fashion. In addition to that, we are reviewing all data sets because, as I'm sure the committee's heard just in general, you don't have to be a tech person to hear this, but garbage in, garbage out. If I take things out of Skyward and it's not correct and put it into Power School, while it's a better system, we're still going to not have the full utilization of the new system or its abilities. Beyond that, with Power School, we are moving forward. Dr. Holt's team has been working on the professional learning module. I think we're in really good shape with that. That's concluded, so we'll be going live with that module on July 1st. We will be tackling the MTSS, IEP, and MLL module later this spring, and one that is a mistype on here. It should have been listed as, this is the attendance module and how we track attendance, truancy, absenteeism, and how that will work. And Kyle Quatros, Mr. Quatros is leading that team to make sure that we get that configured. I know that's been a big issue, and it's a priority. It's a forefront in terms of the district and what we're trying to do there. Student registration, the 26-27 school year registration opened on Sunday, February 1st. Applications available both in paper and electronic format. As of today, April 8th, we have 107 kindergartners registered. To give you perspective, registration in our system, we did open it slightly earlier this year than last year, but that being said, during the prior year's registration window, we only had 30 registrations as of today. So I can't say with certainty we're going to trend higher than what we have in the past because the windows don't align exactly, but we have quite a few. The windows, it has been open, and we have quite a few more registrations this year than last. Hopefully the trend continues. Facilities custodial services, we're fully staffed in the department. However, due to vacation time and medical leave, we are not running at full capacity. We presently do not have enough subs. We are interviewing for candidates next week and the week after. Additionally, overtime has been restricted to emergency situations only, so that is causing a strain in the district because if we don't have a sub to clean the building, we have to have our facility staff that maintain the buildings in terms of work order repairs and whatnot. They have to then go in and clean classrooms early in the morning, or custodians have to pick up extra areas in the building on the second shift. So they are doing quite well with it, but it is a strain in the system. As of today, there are 101 facility work orders in the system. 68 are assigned to our staff. 33 are assigned to contractors, vendors outside of district. HVAC heating. So as previously been discussed, we have been approved for the replacement of the HVAC controls at the high school, Career Tech Center, Pothier Elementary, and Harris Elementary. The business office has released the bid package, and we anticipate completing all of the work for the upcoming heating season. Similar to the project here at the middle school, so I want to make sure that it's noted, is this is going to replace the internal controls and give our teachers and facility staff greater flexibility to control the temperature in a given space. It's very much want to emphasize, this is not a replacement of all of the equipment on the roofs. So all of these HVAC unit repairs that we see throughout the school year, those are repairs done to the units on the roof. That has nothing to do with the controls in the building. So to give you an example why we need to do this, at the high school, there is no control in a classroom. The heat is turned on and it's turned off. When it's on, during the warmer weather where it gets cooler at night and it's cool in the morning, the heat's on, you're okay, but the afternoon, you're boiling. This will allow you to control it within a range, but this will not negate the fact that most of our rooftop units in our buildings are anywhere from 10 to 20 years old. So those are a need that's on the horizon. It'll be a capital need in the future. I only am stressing all this and explaining it because I think there was a misunderstanding here in the middle school campus when I said the controls are being replaced. That doesn't mean if the unit goes down or the unit's not blowing cold air in the summer or the unit's blowing cold air, in the winter, in this room in particular, it is what it is. I can go over that thermostat and change it all I want. If the unit up on the roof isn't working, it's not working. So that is something I'm saying because you may still see bills come through for the HVAC unit repairs themselves. Industrial burner is in the process of making repairs at the Citizens School. You may recall we have 2 boilers there. The primary boiler was working. The secondary boiler was not. We had a situation in the winter. The repairs were approved, and they're in the process of doing it. Harris School, we're still waiting for the new boiler to arrive, and that will be replaced during the warmer weather. Lighting systems, we have a meeting with the lighting contractor for over the April break to look at this particular building where the lights dim out when they shouldn't. They are scheduled to come during the April break and then set up a schedule to work during the spring to go room by room to reprogram the building. Lastly, transportation. We continue to meet weekly with Durham School Services. At this time, we have a full complement of drivers. However, Durham continues to face challenges with arrival and departure times. And that concludes my report.
Mr. Notoriani, I just have just one item of commenting, the HVAC systems, where it can be cold in a certain room. I've gotten 3 emails over the weekend relative to the auditorium. From what these emails are telling me is the auditorium is very cold. We've got the high school musical #2 coming on this week. Would you check into that to see if we can have heat or we can start a fire somewhere to warm up the room?
I'll be frank with you, Mr. Chairman. So the director of the musical has approached me, and I did inform her.
She has.
Oh,
She's
she
not the
has,
one
and
that-
she told me she'd be potentially contacting individuals to voice her concerns. And I did explain to her as recently as yesterday that I don't have control over the unit. So our choice is to send some up on the roof and shut it off completely. But the HVAC vendor does not recommend we touch the system like that. So I don't have a good solution for it. Oftentimes I'm brought concerns and I try my best to fix them. In this particular case, it's a little frustrating because an answer was given. It wasn't the answer they wanted to hear, but I don't have a good solution for that. We're hoping to see that it gets a little warmer for the performances. It's cold now when it's not occupied. And I would suggest that we not try and, I won't not use a term, fiddle with it, because if you pack it in there with 700 people, so if I may, let me back up for Chairman for a second. This week, we shut off the heat. So I received during the entire Easter week concerns throughout the district that they were boiling hot. I received text messages and emails. Shut off the heat. We're boiling hot. And I said, well, if I shut it off, it's now off. And some of the older units might not turn back on. I reached out. I spoke to Dr. McGee. I spoke to Mr. Perrier. I spoke to the union leadership, and I informed them this is what I'm hearing. And I think it might be better to suffer through the heat and open the windows than to shut the heat off. The concerns were, no, not by Dr. McGee and Mr. Perrier, but the concerns were, nope, it's too hot. This isn't conducive to a learning environment. We shut the heat off last Thursday. And for the last 3 days,
too
I've heard
cold.
nothing but turn the heat back on. And I can tell you, we turned it on everywhere we could. One building, it won't turn back on.
Which one?
So that's at Citizens. That is
Well,
at
I'm
Citizens.
worried about the high school because of the
So
auditorium.
the high school has a sprung leak in the in one of the pumps. Dr. McGee got a call at 6:30 this morning. So I'm going to reiterate the following. If there is a way I can do something to fix it, I will do it. I
have a suggestion. Maybe you can get the knitting club to knit us some mittens and scarves and a toque.
Yes.
How's that?
I'm well aware of it, and I did communicate that in person yesterday to one of the people that was voicing that concern. Unfortunately, I don't want to say I failed them, but there's not much I can do on that.
Okay.
And I really think it's going to get
your
warmer.
attention.
Yep, I think it's going to get warmer when you pack 700 people in that room, because it can be chillier, but usually by the end of the day it's a little warmer and whatnot. But
Are you going to the musical?
I will not be attending the musical.
So you're avoiding the cold. Can't say I blame you for that reason, but I hope it gets warmer. Let's say it that way.
I'm told the weather is supposed to warm up during the days that the event's supposed to occur. I believe
That could help.
That's what's occurring. I'm more hopeful or concerned about the haze and fog machine, and hopefully it doesn't follow past tradition where the fire alarm goes off. And we're working through that now because unfortunately our 2 electricians in the district are on vacation. So we are trying to cobble that together as well, and that has also been a major concern for the production as well.
Thank you, Mr. Notoriani. Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
To get back to the school safety, how many officers are still present in the high school?
So we presently have 2 SROs of the 4 that are assigned daily to our district, are assigned directly at the high school. In addition to that, we post daily for 2 additional detail officers. They're not SROs, they're patrol officers, or not, I shouldn't say patrol officers, any officer that bids on the detail. You might have a lieutenant, you might have a captain, a sergeant. We post to have 2. Unfortunately, I've been informed that it's not a popular thing to pick up, and more recently, for the last week or so, they've only been able to fill one of the detail positions. And that's why we're scheduling a meeting with the police leadership for later this week, hopefully next week, just to go through to evaluate that, because we haven't had a 4th police officer in the building for a whole week. And we also want to evaluate, do we need to continue with this particular model? I know there's been discussions with the police where they indicated we might not need that, and that's, I think, why we want to have that discussion with Colonel Oates and Deputy Chief Remick.
But wasn't there also some discussion that if we couldn't get those 2 police details, that we were looking at private?
I believe that was a discussion of the committee, but I don't think that was pursued.
I don't think that was.
Yeah, so we talked about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't pursued because I think at the time it was quicker for us to put out for the detailed officers versus having to do an RFP for a security, organization or company to come in. So at the time, due to the expediency of it, we selected to go with the detailed officers.
But that doesn't seem to be working right now.
Well, I mean,
And it's still
when they're there,
necessary,
it's
I guess,
working,
the question.
but they're apparently they're not, as Mr. Notariani said, they're not, they're not bidding on taking it. So we have one that's vacant. So I don't know why they're not, but they're not. But as Mr. Notariani said, I think we need to revisit, do we need them actually, because we may not.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Notariani, what do you think, or what reason would you suggest it would be for the amount of students that have signed up for kindergarten?
I don't know if I don't know. I can't begin to surmise. We've publicized it. We've had a longer window to sign up.
if I may, I think we've done a really good job of communicating that with the, no, we've done a very good job of communicating that. I know I send out a weekly newsletter directly from my office, and that goes out in that newsletter. I think we've done a really good job of communicating, and I think we're seeing the, you know, the fruits of our labor. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the facilities technology update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have one item of unfinished business, a discussion and approval on outstanding invoices from the Woonsocket City Council, specifically auditing invoices and SRO invoices. Now, this agenda item was tabled at our last meeting, as you might recall. So I make a motion to remove this agenda from the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc and Vice Chair Burke. Dr. McGee, roll call.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
So now this item is on the table, is off the table, and it's before us. So I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the outstanding invoices from Woonsocket City Council, specifically auditing invoices and SRO invoices. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. Mr. Perrier, would you like to address this?
Yes, I would, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to give you an update on this item. At this time, I have been sent the audit invoices from the city of Woonsocket. I'm still waiting for the attendance on the SROs so that I can do a calculation on what we should be paying if we were paying a daily rate. I haven't had time to totally digest the audit invoices. Unfortunately, the audit invoices do not track the work that was done on the school department and on the city. So really, without going through that line by line, it's kind of difficult to break out the work. So I'm still taking a look at those, and I'm hopeful at our next meeting. I'd like to put this back on the table one more time. Next meeting, we'll have a finance subcommittee meeting where I'm going to bring to the finance subcommittee a resolution one way or another on both of these items and propose that to the finance subcommittee. And then whatever we approve at the finance subcommittee, we will move to the school committee. And I'm very hopeful that this will be wrapped up at our next school committee meeting.
And that finance subcommittee meeting will be on the same day as the school committee meeting?
Yes, it will.
We did.
Correct.
Okay, so we don't have the data. We had asked for the support. We don't have it all. It's not all digested yet.
Yeah, we have the audit invoices, but I'm still awaiting.
You need the breakdown.
Yeah, and I will reach back out and follow up with the city to make sure that we have that for our next meeting, and I will be prepared to answer these questions.
Thank you, Mr. Perrier. Then I'll make a motion to table this item until the next meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. Dr. McGee, roll call.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
We have one item of new business. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the retention policy for first passage. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. Ms. Kepiscus, would you like to take us through this? I know this is a new policy.
It is a new policy, and I more or less went through it when we reviewed our policy subcommittee report. But just to emphasize some points, the real reason why we're putting this policy forward is it's a policy we were already following, but it wasn't written. So now because RIDE is now requiring us to formalize it into a policy because of the issues around attendance. As a result, we now have a formal policy on retention. Our policy has always been those decisions were made by the MTSS, multiple tiered services and supports team in our schools, who'd be helping to make that decision along with school administrators and parents. Parents are involved in the decision, but parents are not the final say. That's not required by state law, and we're not doing that. But in particular, this retention policy was drafted to incorporate RIDE's requirement that parents receive a letter in advance if their students are at risk of retention because of chronic absenteeism. And that's basically where the policy comes out of. Sure. Exactly how that's determined, what factors are considered, and that when those letters go out, how they go out to parents. And it's essentially just to give parents a heads up similar to what we discussed many years ago about making sure parents were aware that when we came to the high school portfolio requirements, students got notice, not in their senior year, but in their sophomore year, that they were already behind on their portfolio.
Sure.
So that they get notice. It goes out, I believe, in February, so that everyone will have advance notice and be able to address the issue earlier rather than later, and hopefully when it's not too late.
Good.
This year, I believe we sent out over 400 of those letters in February.
400.
Mhm.
Wow. Any other comments?
No.
Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
And this item will appear on our next meeting for second passage. Having no other items on our agenda, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:25 PM. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Adjourned.